Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today I want to talk a little bit about kind of outdoorsy type stuff because my watch that I used to track my fitness died, and I wanted to evaluate, do I really need a watch to track my fitness? And the reality is I do exercise a lot. I do keep exercise goals. That's why I'm not as fat as I could be, because I really like cookies, but I also really like hiking to the top of mountains. I mean, hey, on all of my journey here in my van life, traveling throughout the country, I did do that really strenuous hike in Maine. Believe it or not, there are some on that side of the country, which is like, it's like a 2,000-foot elevation change over like 500 foot. It's kind of crazy. I've also hiked to the top of Lawson Volcano. I went as far up Mount Rainier as one can go without a ranger's permit. I hiked to the top of, I think it's Explosive Peak in Idaho. This year, I hiked around Mount St. Helens a little bit. And there's probably a few other mountains I've hiked as well that I can't remember off the top of my head. But I do actually get out and do a lot of exercise, and I do set for myself some goals. Now, I'm not a total Luddite. I do like technology. A lot of what I stand against, though, is a lot of what companies are doing with the technology. For example, I really am interested in my health stats and things like that. Just how does all this stuff kind of work? I really am interested into that. I'm not interested in sharing that with any big tech company or storing that data on anybody else's database servers that I don't really control. Even if I can trust the company to some degree, I can't trust that they don't have a rogue employee who buys and sells that data. I can't trust that there's not a security breach, a hack, and I can't trust that that company's not going to sell out to somebody else that will look at all that health data and go, where's the nearest health insurance company we can market this stuff to, And so I do want to track some health stuff, but I don't want to have something that connects to the internet. And so I've had in the past, the watch that I was using was the Garmin Forerunner 35, which allowed me to see basic stats on the watch so I could get a basic handle of how my day was going without having to use some app that connects things into third-party servers and things like that. And so I was kind of looking at what my various options are. Of course, the next problem is I live in a van on the road, and, deliver to the van down by the river is not exactly a delivery option in many instances. So I had to limit myself to what I could reasonably locally source. And being as that I am in the middle of a desert and the nearest city for me is we're about 2 or 3 hours away, I said, well, what's available at the local Walmart? And they had a couple options. And they had a Garmin Vivo Active 5, and they had a Garmin Forerunner 55. So I looked at these two watches, and the Vivo Active had more smart features that I wasn't interested in, including things like a microphone. And call me crazy, I just don't want to wear a microphone on my wrist all day long. I don't know what it's doing. I just don't. And so I did decide to go with the Forerunner 55, the upgrade to the watch that I had previously had. So I picked that guy up over here, and this is kind of the box for it. Ooh, I don't know if it can focus on that or not. There you go. So I picked up that watch there, and it was about $150-something, something like that. And what I found, and the reason why I decided to go with that, is there is an app that exists now that didn't exist, or at least didn't exist with support way back when I had my other Garmin. And that is an open source app. You can grab it on not only on the Play Store, you can also download the daily builds directly from their website, and you can get it on F-Droid. So you can install this app. It makes no internet connections. It works perfectly fine. Well, it can make internet connections if you want it to, but you can completely limit the thing down and lock it down, and that allows me to sync my watch to the phone to store longer logs of data than I had in the past, so I can see how I'm doing over a wider period of time. Now, there are many other devices that will work with that. And I know some people had emailed me a couple options, but they forgot that whole I'm in a desert. I can't just get something just because it exists. I had to get something that was locally available to me in a little desert city. And so what I opted to do is I looked at the two options, and both of those two devices from Walmart both work with the Gadget Bridge app. And this allowed me to grab the watch and now sync data in a way that I can view more historical records than I was able to view before, but it still never goes onto the internet. And so I want to show you how the watch works. I want to give you a review of it, having had the watch for almost a month now. I want to give you a review of the watch, and I want to show you how that connects with Gadget Bridge and show you what that information looks like. So stay tuned. The rest of this video, we're going to be looking at the watch, and we're going to be looking at Gadget Bridge. All right, so first we'll have a look at the watch itself. And so this is the watch, and it has 5 buttons on it. You have this one here, which is will trigger your activities and different things like that. This is your back button down here. We have the light turns on and off the light, and there you go. There's off, and there's the light is on. And then these 2 buttons here will cycle up and down in the various mode that you have enabled. So going down here, I have steps. So you can see I've met my step goal for the day. This is the intensity for the week. Almost there. I got to wrap that up tomorrow. Heart rate, of course, that's not reporting anything right now because I took the watch off to demonstrate here. There's a active versus passive calories, stress, and then this is basically like a VO2 max estimate. Of course, I don't know, I might pull that thing off. Here's your respiration rate, body battery, I guess how much energy you have. And then this is kind of a list of activities. So of course, this is Christmas week. I didn't do any strenuous activity, but it will log a bunch of them. You can actually edit this screen here. So there are other options that you can turn on, and you can move the items around. So if I just click edit, click this button again on any of these, I can move it up or down, so you can reorder the whole menu. And is what you have. And if you wanted to take something off, you can come down here and add something. There's notifications, weather, calendar, menstrual tracker. Ooh, I should turn that on. Never mind. And Garmin Coach, which does require the official Garmin app to use. So obviously I'm not doing anything with that. So you can also, on each one of these options here, you can click this button and get more information. So this kind of shows me the breakdown of where my steps were. And then each of these will have a little bit there. So you can see I did not meet step goals last Sunday, which I don't try to meet step goals on Sunday. And I didn't either on Thursday, which was Christmas. So yeah, I'm not really pushing myself to get a lot done there. And then here is your distance. This is one of the things I don't like about this watch, is it doesn't actually have like a readout of your estimated distance other than this chart, which you can't really get a good accurate reading on it. And then each of these will have their own individual menu items. So this is today for the last 12 hours. And see, I got that activity early, this morning. And then this is kind of the weekly goal. So we're getting there. So you can see how each day it tickered up a little bit. And then this is how much it takes to reach that, either 18 minutes of vigorous or 36 minutes of moderate, which I will shoot to do a moderate walk tomorrow. Then your heart rate will give you your last 4 hours with your high and your low. And then you can cycle down and see a 7-day chart over there. And let's see, calories, again, it's just what's your active and what's your passive. So here's today. It says 600 active and 1,700 resting, 2,300 total. Hopefully I ate less than that, but you never know. And then there's per week. So there's a lot of useful information. The stress one, I have no idea how it's calculating stress. I did have a funny one, was it last week, a couple weeks ago? I was sitting there and I just come back from a walk, and I was like, let's go ahead and we'll lean back. I put on some soft music. I lean back. I look out the window. I'm seeing a beautiful desert scenery. Always nice with the world. I'm just about to nod off to sleep, and the watch beeps at me and says, "You're super stressed out." I'm like, dude, I'm the furthest thing from stressed you'd ever imagine. But so I have no idea how it's calculating stress, but it does give you that. And this is, apparently Saturday was my most stressful day. I'm trying to think, Saturdays for me are not usually stressful. I intentionally don't have any work to do. I clean up around here, which is very relaxing for me. So I have no idea what the stress is about, but it's kind of crazy. This one here is, I'm not sure exactly how it's calculating it. I'm guessing it's mostly based on how fast you run. I don't intentionally run fast, but you can see there that if I were to do a 5K, it would probably take about a half an hour. I'm not really running to try and get a 5K in, so and then there's recovery, 6 hours, to recovery. So there's a lot of different settings there. You can go through each one of these menus, but that's how it is. But I'm going to go ahead and show you actually one more menu here on the watch. Oh, let's talk battery efficiency real quick as well, because right now I actually got this watch, I think 3 weeks ago now, and the battery is now, what's that battery at? 18%. So I got it on Sunday, I think 3 weeks ago. We'll look at that exactly when we look at the actual app. But I got it 3 weeks ago. I charged it up that Sunday, and it is still at 18%. So I got about 3 weeks worth of battery. Now, the caveat to that is I only run for about 10 minutes, 3 days a week, and I do not wear the watch at night. So it gets turned off at night. So if you're wearing it in the morning, I put it on in the morning. I do 3 activities that require the GPS throughout the week. I take it off at night. It lasts about 3 hours. Now, there's one other menu, and that's if you hold your light button, you get this cycling menu here. This is where you can turn the watch off, and then, assistance. And then this is where you'll hit the phone on or phone off. So I do not have to have this watch constantly connected to Bluetooth, which is exactly what I wanted, because you should not always have Bluetooth turned on your device. You should only turn it on sparingly. So basically, I would go over to the phone, and I'll show you that step here. I've not synced the watch today. We'll do that on the app. But I'll come over here, turn this on. Now Bluetooth is on. I then turn on Bluetooth on the phone, and then I sync this through the app. And that's actually how I am using that. So I do not have to keep this on all day, and it will go through and sync the day's activities if I do that. Here is the sync button. I'm not sure if the sync button here works. I use the sync button on the app. Here's a do not disturb mode. Here's a find my phone mode, which I don't have set up. There's timers and stopwatches. And here's alarms, and then you can lock the keys. So the stopwatch, I've played around with a stopwatch a little bit. It's nice and simple. You get your basic stopwatch, and then you can pause it, and then you can do laps, or you can reset it, or things like that. So let me go back. There you go. There's your reset button. So there's your stopwatch. I've not actually had to use the timer on it, but I don't know, maybe I'll experiment with a timer at some point in time, but there's that. So that's kind of how the watch works. So what we'll do here is I'm going to go over to the we'll go over to the phone app, and then we will have a look at that. Okay, so here is the actual phone app. So I've already turned on Bluetooth on the device. I'm going to click that waiting for phone button over there, and I'm going to click down to devices, and now we will hit the connect button. So something I didn't mention there while we're connecting here is there are some sleep functions on the watch, which I don't use, but for some reason the watch seems to think I sleep a lot, and I have no idea why that is, but that's okay. So I'm going to click the sync activity button here on the phone, and then that'll take about 10 to 15 seconds or so, and then you'll see the activity feed will show up there when that's done. And that is done. So you'll see it tells me I got 3.5 hours of sleep, which, not while I was wearing the watch. I walked 7.1 miles today, and I did 14,000 steps. Now, if I were to, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and put the watch back on right now, just so you can see that the heart rate stuff will come over once I put the watch back on here. And now that it is on, if I click on this guy here, oh, hold on. Now it's going to measure my heart rate and see what that's looking like. Since I just put the phone on, so it's telling me a 70 of heart rate. All right, not too bad. And then I think this is a find your device, which I don't have set up. This will give you the listing of activities that you've done. You can see the last one I did was last Friday. Like I said, I took this week off of activities, but you can see every couple, about every other day, I'll do a run there. I used to do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but the watch actually started yelling at me a little bit, like, you shouldn't exercise today. Like, oh, whatever, all right, you know. But I figured it'd be better to stagger that anyway. So you can kind of see what I do. And like I said, I'm not running for any distance. I'm not running for much training. I'm mostly just running to keep in shape and to burn off a couple of those cookies I eat at night. So I just run 10 minutes and over a mile, whichever one comes second. So, and then each of these different activities, you can click in on this so you can see all the different specs of that particular activity. And I can go back and you can see there's activities going back for, back to the 8th, which I think is about when I got this. So let me go back to the dashboard, and here's actually the calendar readout. So the 7th is when I actually bought the watch. So I charged it up that night for Monday morning, fresh at 100%. It's now still at 18% here on the 26th. And then you can see from the listing here that the only day I didn't really meet that 100%, which is kind of close to that 100% range, is the 21st. Now, 14th, I don't try to hit the step goal, but for whatever reason, I was doing something that day that I did hit it. And so that's kind of, my kind of goal is here is Monday through Saturday to make sure we're on that solid green. So that's pretty good. We'll go back over to devices there. This one here will give us kind of an activity feed, which we can cycle through the various types of steps up here. Now, there's a few things in here like this. There's no measurements. Here's actually the heart rate, but I can actually go back and see the week and the months as well. But again, remember, this is not synced to anybody's database. This is exclusively on this device. Here's my steps, week and month, day, week and month as well. Here's the stress level. So here's the week, and I think it was, I don't know, it was one of these ones where it was high, not that first week, but I don't know, somewhere around there is what it was yelling at me. Here's the intensity. Speed zones, these types of things are not measured by this particular device. So if you happen to have something that does measure your blood oxygen level, those will show up on here. This particular device does not. But there is those steps there. This is, I can set the alarms over here, and that should go back, configure them to the watch. Like I said, though, since I shut the watch off at night, I don't really use it. That's our sync button, and then here is just various settings inside of here. We'll go back over to the dashboard. Now, this is the part here where all these light blue lines, it says I'm light sleep. I don't know how. Maybe I'm just super relaxed when I'm sitting at my computer working. I guess I like my job. I don't know. But those pretty much reflect the times I'm sitting at my computer working, but it thinks I'm sleeping. But you'll notice there's no deep sleep or REM sleep because I don't wear the watch at night. And worn, black is not worn. The light grays are when it's worn, but no particular exercise. If I go back, let's go back a couple days back and find the days where I actually did exercise. I think what was the 19th, I think. So you can see there, 19th, that little orange sliver is actually when I did that exercise. That's where, the heart rate gets up there and I was doing more exercise. And apparently I fell into a deep coma from 12 to 3. I don't know. Light sleep anyway. Again, I don't pay much attention to the sleep stuff, but you can see everything else here. I can go back and see that historical data on this all on the device without any problem at all. You can click in on any given day and pull up that particular days. Here's your body energy, up and down, distance and steps on each individual day. So you really get a chance to see how you're doing there you go, on each individual day on this. And it gives me all of that information that I like, and I love the fact that we have technology that can do this. I don't love that nearly every piece of garbage device out there wants to sync everything by default to somebody else's cloud. And I'm sorry, I just don't trust your companies that much. As far as the data, you can come over into here. You can export the data into zips. You can import data. So if you happen to have a bunch of data from a backup, you can do that. You can delete everything in here. You can empty the database. So if you need to reset the thing, you can do that as well. So there's a lot of options there. As far as exporting the zip, I've not played around to see what information is actually in there. Could I take that data and utilize it on spreadsheets. I don't know. I've never played around with that data importation or not. So here's actually on the dashboard. There's some settings. There's actually some settings in here as well where you can turn on and turn off some different things. I can't remember exactly where they all are. Let me just have a brief look. Here's your user interface. Chart settings, there you go. So here you can toggle colors, you can toggle various options, you can turn on activity lists, things like that. You can change your heart rates, and you can actually download maps, drop them in a folder, and if you're doing runs with the GPS, it will actually track your stuff and overlay it to a map. Again, that's a feature I haven't played with. For me, it's not particularly interesting. I'm in a desert and I run a mile down the road and back. You know, as far as your, let's see if I can find your permissions. So I have this turned off because if you don't turn this button off, this check permission status here, this guy here will constantly check permissions every time you load the app. So you can actually see down here, I do not allow it to pretty much manage anything. I have find location for Bluetooth. I have Bluetooth scan and Bluetooth connect. That is, oh, and query packages. So I have not enabled any other permissions on this particular device. And that's actually one of the things I really like about this, is that I can really choose which permissions I am granting or not. So there is my brief look at Gadget Bridge and what it can do. And if you are looking for a device, you like this type of stuff, but you're not keen on the big tech companies, I'd encourage you to have a look at Gadget Bridge, and then you can check out their website, and they will have a list of devices that will work with it. And so, again, it is an app that you can grab off of F-Droid, or you can download it directly from their website as well, so you don't have to go even through the Play Store. And this, we are installing on this. This is on a Graphene 5 phone without Google Play services. So Google Play services is not a requirement for using this particular device. And it's working just fine on Graphene OS. All right, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below.